Welcome to the first video of a new series I'm trying, a lore discussion video. In these videos I'll be picking out a niche topic in the Half-Life universe that has very little information on it, tell you everything that we do know about it and then ramble my thoughts about it. The topic of today being, how long after the events of Half-Life 1 did the common invasion happen? I personally really love to discuss about this because there are quite a few mods that play in between the events of Half-Life 1 and the common invasion. Take Poke 646 or 1187 episode 1 for example. We know that the Combine weren't present during Half-Life 1, but have been there for quite a while in Half-Life 2. In the Half-Life games, we never really get a whole lot of information about it. This video will obviously include spoilers for basically all Half-Life games, but I will warn you ahead of time when we get to Half-Life Alyx spoiler territory. Every claim in this video is backed by the Combine overwiki or information seen in an official Valve title. So let's dive deep into what we do know about this topic. Be sure to join the Discord, we are close to 1000 members. You can also discuss this video with others there. So to start off, when talking about the timeline of events in the Half-Life universe, I think it's a lot less that we're talking about actual dates and more about the time that has passed between events. Half-Life 2 takes place nearly 20 years after Half-Life 1. Half-Life Alyx takes place 5 years before Half-Life 2. Every other game is somewhere between that or shortly after that. And somewhere in that time span of 15 years between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life Alyx is when the common invasion happened. Let's get into what most people probably quote when trying to answer this question. An official Mark Laidlaw email regarding this topic. Mark Laidlaw is the main writer of the Half-Life series up until episode 2. He used to be very active in responding to emails regarding Half-Life lore. He didn't go much into the future events he had planned for the Half-Life universe. He did that in episode 3 already. But he did answer quite a few niche questions. The Common Overwiki does a great job at verifying emails that people claim to be responses from Mark Laidlaw. There is both an unverified and verified responses section. One of the verified emails is one of him responding to the exact question we're asking today. On the time between the Black Mesa incident and 7-hour war, Mark Laidlaw responded with days. Now for some this might be enough already, but with peace and love to Mark Laidlaw, I'm here to challenge this quote. And before you disagree with me on this, Mark Laidlaw has previously made false statements regarding the Half-Life lore after his time at Valve. He claimed that there was only one Nihilant, later backtracking and saying that it is possible he was wrong with this statement, and that it seems to be implied that there are multiple. Now, obviously no hate towards him. Mark Laidlaw is an absolute legend and he deserves nothing but the utmost respect. It's awesome he even responded to emails at all. This is just me noting that not everything Mark Laidlaw states has to be 100% true. So let's get into the information we get in the actual games of Half-Life. One thing a lot of people might point out, we obviously see no children in Half-Life 2 due to the suppression field, which stops certain protein chains important to the process of embryonic development. This means having children is impossible since the Combine's invasion. But to be exact, this doesn't really help a whole lot in solving the mystery. It could be that the Combine invaded a few weeks before Half-Life Alyx, and that we just simply never encounter any of the then 5-year-old children in Half-Life 2 and its episodes. Now it speaks for this and against this. Obviously, gameplay and moral-wise, games usually avoid using children in shooters. Take GTA for example. Have you ever wondered why there are no children to be seen? Probably not, because who really cares? But there's obviously no suppression field in the GTA universe, and children do most likely exist in that universe. They are just kept out of gameplay. The suppression field is a nice way of explaining away children in the Half-Life universe, but it doesn't really mean that this is the reason we never see children. Obviously, I expect that while writing the game, the team thought to themselves that no children actually exist, but it's never actually confirmed anywhere in the games. For the sake of staying very true to the argument and making things more complex in the process, there is a chance that there may very well be 5 and a bit year old children running around the Half-Life world that are just never encountered by the player, but I myself find this to be unlikely and I'll get into why later. In Eli's lab we get to see newspapers hanging on the wall with the headline "Portal Storm Continues." We also find a newspaper in Half-Life Alyx that talks about the portal storms, which also gives us a map of where they happened when the newspaper released. We don't get any information of time though, so none of this really disproves Mark Laidlaw's statement of days. If we go with days, which could really mean anything between 2 and 6 days, I'm assuming he would have said weeks otherwise, there was indeed enough time for a newspaper to be written and printed in that amount of time about the portal storms happening. In fact, one of the newspapers seen in Half-Life Alyx is called 7 Days, with a distinct description of "we publish every day," which I believe was done in order to make Mark Laidlaw's statement of days even more plausible. So the best guess we get when talking about an exact time is Alex. In Half-Life Alyx, she happens to be 19 years old, making her 24 years old in Half-Life 2. This means that she was born 4 years before the events of Half-Life 1. As the G-Man lets us know in episode 2, he plucked her out of Black Mesa when the incident happened. Eli witnesses as well, but simply never told Alex. Alex herself doesn't remember any of this. This makes sense. Memories start to form between the ages of 3 and 4. Now, assuming what Mark Laidlaw said is correct and only a couple days after the Black Mesa incident did the common invasion take place, this would surely mean Alex doesn't remember this either, right? Well, let's take a look at a certain quote of Alex in the beginning of episode 2 in response to the portal storm. Here she says,
"It's like the first days all over again."
So this means that she remembers the portal storm of the first days, but not the Black Mesa incident. As she was 4 years old in Half-Life 1, she would be at the brink of being able to form memories. It could also very well be though that the G-Man erased her memory of the Black Mesa incident when he plucked her out of there. So this doesn't truly confirm anything either. Alex's memories of the first days could be anywhere from age 4 to 19. It could be referring to either the portal storms caused by the Combine or the initial damn portal storms. Another important factor is the Citadel being built in Half-Life Alyx. It has been confirmed though that the Citadel was teleported in, like a giant spear in the ground. The Combine then started building around that core. But we do learn one thing for sure. When taking a look at Alex's sketches of the Citadel being built, she actually gave us 2 distinct points in time. The Citadel was teleported in April, and at a later stage it was already June, and then there's one more note for November. So this means that Alyx takes place at least 7 months after the Citadel teleported in, thus also very most likely 7 months after the Common Invasion. But did the Common Invasion really start with the Citadel teleporting in? Well, we do get some hints to this. Let's get into some more unofficial info. The Half-Life 2 leaked beta. Obviously, nothing of this confirms anything, but it gives us a guess of what Valve planned originally and could maybe hint at what we eventually got as well. During the development of the beta, there were plans for Eli Maxwell to show you a slideshow of things that happened in between Half-Life 1 and 2. And going by this, we learned that the few days theory seems unlikely. He was to show images of Zen aliens teleporting into Earth at random times, headcrabs in supermarkets, and an itchy area near we saw in a public pool just as a child jumps into it. Also an image of a gargantua throwing around a farmer's tractor. Eventually, people fled to major cities and built large fences around them. Just as people started to feel safe in them, giant holes appeared in the ground. We will be shown images of the moment they appeared as people are falling in. In these holes, citadels would materialize, thus marking the beginning of the Combine Invasion. After this, the Combine came in through portals and the 7-hour war began. So if we are to assume this info canon, this would mean that the Common Invasion started with the materialization of the Citadel at least 7 months before Half-Life Alyx. We are still in the same about 15-year time span. Right now you have 2 options really. Either believe in the words of Mark Laidlaw when he said days, or listen to what I have to say, as I believe everything is pointing towards something else. Now, who am I really fighting for when arguing against Mark Laidlaw? I'm mostly here to defend the modding community and their mods so that they are still canon to the Half-Life universe as they intended to be. Poke 646 plays a total of 30 months after Half-Life 1. 1187 plays 10 years after Half-Life 1, at which point no Common Invasion has happened apparently. Now to defend 1187, the entire mod makes it seem like it's only a couple months or maybe years after Half-Life 2, which all gets changed by a single letter you find in a room on the ground where a random starving person wrote it has been 10 years since the portal storms begun. So by just assuming she was mistaken due to her starving and actually meant to write 10 months or 1 year or similar, the mod plays in more reasonable time frames again. Alright, so here's my theory. Obviously this is all just based on the evidence I've shown you, which really is just implication and stuff that, in my opinion, leads us to speculate in a certain direction. It could from all we know still have happened just about anywhere in the 15-year time frame. But here's what I think happened and why. For my personal headcanon, I've decided that the Common Invasion happened anywhere between 13 months and up to 2 years after the events of Half-Life 1. Now, why is that? On a personal reason, this is to give mods some leeway and to at least allow Poke 646 to be canon. But as to how I reason this time frame is the following. For one, Alex's memory. Even if memories start forming at 4 years old, how many things do you really remember from that age? And even if the invasion did take place that early, she would probably have simply been carried around at that age by Eli or whoever was nearby whenever portal storms happened. Though one could argue that more traumatic things are more easily remembered at such a young age. I know that people also tend to forget traumatic things just the same, but let's go with the remembering thing for this instance for the sake of the argument. If one was to claim this though, wouldn't she remember the G-Man, a random man, plucking her out of Black Mesa? Of course, the G-Man could have mind-wiped her. That is a possibility I have no argument against, but I believe that from all the information given about Alyx, it seems more likely that she was at least somewhat older when the Common Invasion began than she was in Half-Life 1. The next piece of information that I believe speaks to more than a couple days being between these events is the Half-Life 2 beta. Now obviously this is not confirmed to be true anymore, but given that a lot of the background lore of both the beta and retail Half-Life 2 ended up being the same, I don't find it too unlikely that its description of when the Common Invasion happened is also still somewhat accurate. Now, as I've stated, it could also be that all the images that Eli Maxwell was to show you took place in a couple days span, but people mass migrating into cities and building fences seems more like something that took place over a longer time. This is the last time I'm reiterating this, but this is all just theory and vibes basically and what I decided for my headcanon. Now why do I only think it's somewhere between 13 months and 2 years specifically? 2 years would make the youngest people that exist in Half-Life 2 be about 18 years old and about 13 years old in Half-Life Alyx. This seems more than plausible. We obviously never get to see a lot of people in Half-Life Alyx that aren't Combine, which makes this argument a bit easier. Children being scarce still also makes sense given that the world was literally ending. Not a lot of people planning to have children in a time like that, I'd assume. But then again, 2 years could just as well be 3 or 4 years. Up to 2 years feels right to me. What I certainly don't believe is that it happened days after the Half-Life 1 events. It could very well be true, but I don't believe it to be. But as this is a lore discussion video, I really would love to know you guys' opinions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and come join the Discord to discuss with others. Also, let me know what you think of this format. So yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching.
I never thought I'd see a resonance.